if you're not using a team like this right now, then you're losing at least $500 of your time every week. So I made a personal team of AI real estate agents that frees up 11 hours a week and handles real estate business better than your VA. And today I'll be giving the whole thing away for free. What I'm about to show you in today's video is an AI support system that anyone can use to run their background jobs through text messages. This AI real estate team can draft full offers, pull property data, research the market in real time, and even share your info with clients when you don't have the time to. Since we're well into 2025, you can imagine that earning an extra 11 hours a week could be worth hundreds to thousands of dollars depending on who you are. And here's where it gets fun. I'm sure you've had clients texting you at 11 p.m. asking for property details, spending 2 hours outlining an offer only to lose the deal because someone else was faster, or missed out on opportunities because you couldn't catch a trend until it was too late. In the end, if your goal is to move faster than everyone else without working nights and weekends, you'll want to stick around to the end. But before we get into things, my name is Mike. I help business owners and people in real estate use AI to earn their time back and get more done so that they could focus on what matters most. And if you want to use this exact team yourself, I'm about to give you everything you see in this video completely for free. So let's get into it. Alright, so let's not waste any time here. We're going to jump straight into part 1 of this video, which is a live demo so that you guys can see this entire agent team in action. Alright, so as you guys saw in the intro, there are going to be 3 main actions that this agent is going to be capable of. The first is to manage some of your communications with your clients. The second is to help you draft offers for properties. The third is to do market research to find news and trends so that you can always stay updated on what's happening in the real estate market. And for this demo, I'm taking on the role of a real estate broker who's going to be using this as a personal team of VAs to finish a couple of jobs I have with a client named Mike Johnson. Alright, so for this first message, I'm actually telling the agent that I just had a meeting with Mike Johnson and he's interested in getting more info about home values on the west side of town. And I also want the agent to actually ask him if he's available to meet up at Northwest Cafe tomorrow at 11 a.m. Now, as you can see, as I get this message sent off, the agent is going to classify it as a client communications message. And from there, it sent it off to my AI client agent, was able to go into my CRM and find Mike Johnson's email and then draft him a customized message. And then it just got back to me in chat saying, okay, I've sent an email to Mike Johnson asking if he's available to meet at Northwest Cafe tomorrow at 11 a.m. And now if we hop into my email, I just got this in my inbox. And now I'm taking on the role of Mike Johnson, which is the client receiving this email. So the agent just sent me an email saying, hi Mike, it was great meeting with you earlier today. I wanted to follow up and see if you might be available to meet tomorrow at 11 a.m. at Northwest Cafe to discuss home values on the west side. Let me know if that works for you. Then the email got signed off as Jack with the Sunset Group. And as you can see, as the broker, I was able to get this email sent off in seconds without having to find Mike's email or write any of this message myself. Alright, now here's where things really get interesting. Alright, so let's say that my client just got back to me and said that he actually wants to put in an offer on a property. Now here's the property itself in my database. As you can see, I do have a few properties set up in this database to pull from, so the agent will have access to all of this. And now in my message, I'm actually letting the agent know that I'm wanting to put in an offer for $1.25 million on 123 Oak Lane. So from here, let's see how this agent processes this. Alright, so as I get this message sent off, you could see that it's being classified down this middle row right here. And from there, it's going to be extracting the property address. It's going to be pulling it from my database along with any information on that property. Then it's going to be using a custom template that I gave it to draft an offer for this property according to what the client asked me for. And then I'm going to be passing it on to an AI agent over here to actually pull the client email from my CRM, which looks a little something like this. And you can see Mike Johnson is right here at the bottom. And from there, it's going to draft an email letting him know that I actually created that offer. And then finally, it's going to be saving that offer in Google Drive so that I can refine it, add any information, and then get it sent off to the seller. Now, if we head back into my email on the client side of things, we could see that I got a brand new email here again saying, hi Mike, I'm happy to confirm that we've drafted your offer for 123 Oak Lane at $1.25 million. We'll be sending it over to the seller's agent for review shortly. Then once again, we signed off as Jack with the Sunset Group. And now jumping into Google Drive, I have the foundation of our actual property offer. Now this is a very basic format for an offer, but you could really switch this template out for any template that you might use. In reality, you could train this agent to put together a multi-page offer that's just full of detail. But for this demo, I just kept things simple just to show you guys that we were able to accurately fill in all of this information according to what data the agent was able to scrape from my property database. Alright, so for our final example, we're actually going to be drafting a full market report that's based off of real-time data from a Google search. I'm just going to be asking the agent if it can make me a market report to give me the scoop on any interesting real estate trends or news going on lately. So let's just send this off and see what happens. Again, we're able to see that this classifier is sending this message off to the third category here. And from there, we're actually generating a search query from my message, running a real-time Google search to gather some information, and then sending it off to an an AI market update agent where it's going to be summarizing that information, turning it into an email, and then getting that sent right into my inbox. And as you can see in the chat right here, the agent just got to me saying, okay, Jack, I've sent you the market update and let me know if you have any other questions. And now if we pop back into my email, we're able to see the full breakdown of a few real-time trends that are going on in real estate right now based off of that research the agent just did for me. Now you can take a second to actually read through the body of this email if you want, but essentially the agent's letting me know that there are some trends pointing towards more stable markets. Some experts are anticipating some moderate fluctuations. And second, it looks like high mortgage rates are still forcing transactions to be driven by more necessity. And lastly, there's a couple interesting trends here where it's actually telling me to keep an eye on the Virginia and Las Vegas housing markets. And lastly, it's even telling me that homes with a mountain view are the most common type of home sold at the moment. This is a pretty simple report because I'm only taking a few search results. But for now, this is very digestible and very easy to read, and it includes a couple of really cool trends that I didn't know about before. All right, so now that we've got that demo covered, I'm going to take you step by step through this agent so that you can understand exactly how it works. And then if you want to use this yourself, you could head down into the resources in my description and pick up this entire AI agent team completely for free as my gift to you guys for watching this video. And with that said, let's jump straight into this agent so that you guys can understand exactly how this works. All right, so I'm going to jump back and forth between this flowchart and n8n to actually show you guys how each section of this agent fits together. But first, if you're serious about getting AI to work for you and you happen to own a business or you're in real estate, then go ahead and hit my first link down in the description. I'll send you a personalized AI action plan for any issue that you're going through right now completely for free. Or if you want to work directly with me to help build out a custom AI solution for your business, go ahead and hit my second link to reserve a private consultation with me so that we can share some ideas about what AI might be able to do for you. But anyways, let's get straight back into the video. All right, so first up, we're going to talk about what's actually powering this agent and how we actually can kick off this entire workflow. But before we do that, let me talk a little bit about the ROI of this agent so that you guys can understand a couple of the claims that I made earlier in the video. All right, so based off of what I've seen, a fully optimized version of this agent could save you 8 to 14 hours every single week, with an average here sitting somewhere around 11. And I actually wanted to break this down for you guys really quick just so you understand where I'm coming from. So sending emails, doing communications, and sharing info with your clients can take anywhere between 2 to 4 hours a week. And of course, all of these factors depend on who you are and what sort of volume you're dealing with. Second, drafting offers could take you 4 to 6 hours, again, depending on how many offers you have to draft, what your process is, and how many you're doing every week. And finally, depending on the depth of your market report, you could spend anywhere between 2 and 4 hours actually putting that together, depending on how many sources you use and what type of format you actually prefer. So altogether, 11 hours kind of makes up for those differences. But again, depending on who you are, you could save either a little less or a little bit more time than this every single week using a system like this. Anyways, with those numbers covered, let's get straight into how this agent actually works. So first up, we're actually going to be using an on-chat message to actually chat with this agent. And that's what you saw me doing in the demo when I actually opened up this chat window in the bottom. But if you actually want to push this into production, you can set this up with a Twilio node, with WhatsApp or Telegram or something similar. And in reality, all of these options are viable if you're using a system like this. And what you decide to use just really depends on your personal preference and where you spend most of your time. Now, secondly, we're actually going to be categorizing every request that comes in through this agent. And for this, we're going to be using an AI step that's going to act as a moderator for this entire agent system. And if I actually open this up right here, you're going to be able to see how I'm categorizing all of this stuff here. And I don't need to go too in depth on any of this stuff because everything you see in this video, everything that you're seeing in this video will be available completely for free. All you need to do is download it, connect a couple of things, and you'll be up and running. Anyways, what's going on right here is I'm taking every message sent in chat and I'm going to be categorizing it into one of 3 categories. The first is going to be any information or communications shared with clients. The second is going to be drafting an offer to help a client purchase a property. And the third is going to be actually getting a market update or doing any trend research. Depending on what this AI step outputs, it's going to be leading us down a different pathway here. But first, let's get started with our simplest workflow, which is sharing info with a client, which is going to be this first one right here. And the way that this is going to work is that when this AI step routes the message off to this first workflow right here, it's going to follow these 3 steps. First, the agent is going to be looking in your CRM to search for your client by name so that it can actually pull their email address from there so that you don't have to remember it. Second, it's going to take your request into mind and actually draft a message to send off to your client that hits every bullet point you wanted to address or every bit of information that you wanted to share. And finally, it gets that email sent off. And then it notifies you with a quick chat message just to let you know that everything went over okay. And now back in n8n, let's take a closer look at this AI client agent. If we open this up, we can actually see how this is set up with our system prompt and our instructions. Essentially, what's going on here is I'm just passing the user request over to the agent and then telling it to reference the system prompt for more instructions. And again, this is a very simple workflow, so this system prompt is going to be pretty simple. I don't have it broken down into my usual titles. This is a relatively straightforward task. I'm sort of prompting the agent, telling it who it is and what it's doing. Then I'm passing the user request in through it one more time. And from there, I've given it a set of 4 instructions to actually follow in order to make sure that this workflow stays consistent and we're able to manage all of those client communications. The first is to use the get client email tool to actually pull the client's email address out of our CRM. The second is to determine whatever the broker's goal is, which in this case is Jack, if you guys remember from the demo. And this could be anything from asking if someone's available at a particular time to sharing a bit of information with them. The third step is to use the send client email tool to send that final email over to the client. And then we're wrapping all of this up by replying in the chat that we successfully got that email sent off. And I've also included a little note to be charming and kind in all of the communications. So that's relatively straightforward, but on the back end of our client, we actually have a few things going on that are actually letting this work. First up, we have our AI chat model here, which is powering the agent. You could switch this out for whatever provider you guys want. I'm just using Gemini in this case. We have a simple memory node right here, which I'm only using for a context window length of 5. And I've also dropped my chat ID in here so that we can pass all of these new chat messages through our memory node. Finally, we have our tools here. The first one is going to be our find client email tool, which is what's pulling the client's email from our CRM. I did show you guys this a second ago, but I do have my CRM set up in Google Sheets, but you guys can use whatever CRM that you prefer to work with here, and it'll basically serve the same goal. All the agent did here was locate the client's name, retrieve their email, and then get that sent back into the workflow. And this really makes communications easy because I don't have to remember everybody's email or go chase it down as the broker or the agent myself. Now this tool is very simple to set up. All I'm doing is matching the column by name and hooking it up to my real estate CRM. Now the second tool here is actually the send client email tool. And all I'm doing is hooking this up to the agent so that it can pass off the email, the subject, and generate the message to send off to my client to give him whatever information that he requested here. And again, this is a very simple tool to set up, and assuming everything is connected here, you shouldn't have any issues getting this to work. All right, so let's head back over to our text classifier and have a look at our second route, which is actually drafting an offer. Now, if we come back into our little flowchart here, we're actually able to see what's going on behind the scenes here and simplify some of this information a bit. So the first thing that happens when we want to draft an offer is that the agent is going to search for the property info within my property database using the address inside the message. And again, this is all in my CRM as well, but you guys can use whatever property database you want to for this. So after we've actually pulled that property data from the message, the agent's actually going to go back in and find your client email within your CRM. And this just helps clean up the process so that you don't have to go and hunt down that email or physically tell the agent what the address is. After that, our agent is going to draft the actual offer itself using a template that I've given it. And I'm going to show you guys what this actually looks like in a second. And I'll also show you how you can kind of customize this for your own use case. Once all of that's been taken care of, we're going to actually send an email to the client to let them know that we actually have their offer drafted. And the final step in this workflow is that we're going to actually take that doc and we're going to save it in Drive so that the agent or broker can actually go in there, update the information, and then get that final offer submitted for the client. Now, if we break this down in n8n, let's take a look at the center pathway a little more closely. So the first step here is to actually extract the address from the user's message. And this is going to be another little AI step that I've included here. And essentially what's going on is I'm taking the chat input and I've instructed this AI model to extract only the property address from that message. Once we've extracted the address, we're going to send that off into a Google Sheet so that we can actually search through our property database and then pull some of that property information. So you can really pull whatever type of property information you have access to. In this case, I have the listing agent, I have the property address, the price, and then some info. In this case, in order to tap into that database and activate this search, I've just connected this to my real estate database, and I've got it set to search the database by the property address, which I've dropped in right here. Now, once we have some of that property information, we're going to hand it off to another AI step, which is actually going to be to draft our offer. Now, opening this up, I actually have a system prompt that I want to take you guys through, and this is where a lot of the customization and a lot of the magic is happening behind this offer step. So this prompt is a little bit more involved than the one that I showed you a moment ago in our client agent, but it's still relatively straightforward, and I'll walk you through this really quick. So first up, I've defined the task of what this AI step is going to be doing. I began by inputting the user's request in here just to give it context. Then I've instructed it to draft a purchase offer using the template I've included below on behalf of Jack. And then below that, I've included the property details from the property database in Google Sheets that I just pulled info from. And then just below, I've included the actual template for this particular offer. Now, this is a very simple template that I'm using right here. It just covers a lot of the basic information needed in order to communicate the terms of the transaction. You could come in here and either customize this template by changing out some of the information, or you could delete it and start completely over from scratch by adding your own template in here. And if you guys remember, this is what the final output is going to look like once it's saved to our drive. You could definitely come here and customize this for your needs for the actual offers that you're creating. Now, once our AI step has actually drafted our offer, we're going to be handing that along with the property information off to an AI offer agent. And let's just take a quick look at this again so that you guys can understand how this system prompt works. And then in this window right here is actually where my system prompt is going to live. Now, this is a pretty simple prompt right here, and I don't have too much going on. So for this agent, I just just defined the role to be a helpful, friendly real estate agent, which is the same role that I've defined for the past 2 AI steps I've taken you guys through. Its job is to send an email on Jack's behalf to the client to let them know that their draft has been created. Then I've also dropped in a copy of the actual offer itself that I generated from that previous AI step, which is this one right here that says draft offer. Now for the actual email, I've included a little task section here that contains 3 steps on how I want the agent to address my clients. So again, this is a very straightforward prompt right here. Now that we've actually gone through this, we can actually take a look at those tools that we've created. Now, just like our client agent, we do have our AI chat model and our simple memory setup here. These can be identical to your first setup, so you don't need to change anything. Now, the first tool here is actually our get client email tool, and this is going to be essentially the same as that Google Sheets tool that you saw on the client agent. And secondly, we have our send email offer tool, which again is going to be pretty much the same as the send email tool that you saw in our first AI agent workflow. And as long as you have this hooked up to the agent and you have all of your Gmail credentials set up, then you shouldn't have any problem getting this up and running. Now, the final step in this workflow is to actually create that offer and save it as a document in our Google Drive. So I've just dropped in a couple of things here just to get this set up so that we can transfer that content into our Google Drive from both of those AI steps before. For our file content, I've taken the entire response from that AI step that generated our entire offer. And secondly, for the file name, I've just included today's date along with the word home offer. And again, you guys could download all of this for free in my resources down below. So don't worry about getting too deep into setting all of this stuff up. All right, so let's take a look at the third and final pathway on this agent that starts with our text classifier. Now for this route of the workflow, let me actually explain to you what's going on behind the scenes, and then we'll jump right back into n8n. So the first thing that's gonna happen when you ask this agent for a market update report is that it's actually gonna read through your request and figure out what you're looking for. So you might be looking for trends, you might be looking for latest news, you might be looking for general market updates, and depending on what you're looking for, it will change how it approaches the research so that it can give you more accurate information that's more in line with what your goals happen to be. Next up, it's gonna be actually searching through Google in order to find recent sources of information. Once we've done our Google search, our AI agent is gonna summarize those results and present them to you in a nice little market report that you can just open up in your email and read through really quickly for some quick tips, news stories, and whatever trends happen to be going on. Then finally, once it's actually composed that email, it's gonna get that sent straight out into your inbox within a matter of seconds and then read it as if it were a custom newsletter. So first up, we're gonna be using an AI step to generate a search query based off of the message you just sent in the chat. So as you can see right here, I've just passed in the user message right here, which is what you would have just typed in the chat. And then for our system message right here, I'm just asking this AI step to transform the user's message into a query that can be searched via the internet. And as you can see on the right-hand side right here in this JSON, this is the actual search term that this AI step just transformed that user message into. Next up, we're actually going to be doing our Google search. And this is going to be in a service called Tavily. And I'm going to be accessing this through an HTTP request. Now, if you guys download this entire AI agent team in my description down below, you should have access to all of this information filled in already. The only thing you're going to need to do is come under header parameters and then set in your actual API key from Tavily. And you can actually access that by going into Tavily and actually creating yourself a free account. All you do once you're on your main dashboard is come down here to API keys, and then you'll simply copy this option right here, and then just erase this part right here that says key, and then paste in your actual API key, being sure that you actually leave a space between the word bearer and your API key. Not to get too technical on you guys, but I'm actually also passing the query that I just generated in that previous AI step into this little JSON section right here under the category of query. And this is the whole reason why I included an AI step to generate a query for us. But aside from that, that's all you guys need to access Google search results via Tavily and actually get some information to pass on to our final AI agent. Now, the final step in this workflow is actually going to be our AI market update agent. And all of the magic here is going to be happening under our system message. Now, I've dropped quite a few variables in here, as you can see, and I've also broken this prompt up into a couple of sections as well. So again, I've prompted this agent to be Emily, a friendly, helpful real estate research assistant. I've told it that it has access to the following Google search results on real estate market trends, and I've made it clear that its job is to compose a single professional, yet friendly and digestible email for Jack to give him a quick market update. After that, I've dropped that actual user request into this agent itself. Then under task, I've given it 2 steps to follow, and I've broken this down so that it understands how to actually write that report. The first step is to summarize the following information and turn it into a single market email. The first thing I've pulled in here is a full summary of the search results that it got for me. After that, I've included the content of the top 3 results. And over here on the right-hand side, you can see what all of this data actually looks like once it gets passed into the agent. Once it's summarized that information, I've told it to transform it into an email using the send market update tool. And the last thing here is I've just included a few notes just to make sure that the agent keeps everything concise and it always responds to the user to let them know that they finished, and to transform this report into just one single email as opposed to 2 or 3 separate emails. And to finish off this workflow, once again, we have our AI chat model connected here along with our simple memory. And then the send market update tool is essentially the same as the 2 email tools that I showed you guys before. The only thing you're going to come in here and change this time is under the to address. You can come in here and put your specific email, or you can even fill in a few emails here if you want to hand this update off to your team members to also be able to read this report. But once you've inputted the email that you want this report sent to, and you've connected to your Gmail, this entire step should be finished. And with that about covers our entire personal AI real estate agent team here. And after going through this, you could probably see how you can justify saving so much time every single week with a workflow like this. And hopefully you guys can see some of the areas where you can customize this for your own use case and tweak a few things in order to actually fit your clients and your particular approach. Now, all you need to do to get this set up is to just set up your credentials for things like your AI chat model and for all of your Google services like Sheets, Drive, and Gmail. And then you should be set to start using this today. When you download this, all of these little notes right here that you see on the side in colors will also be available there. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you're able to get some value out of this. And if you stuck around all the way to the end of this video, I appreciate you for watching. So once again, I'm giving this entire template away to you guys completely for free. All you need to do is head down to my resources in the description and pick that up for yourself and start using it right away. And just to put it out there too, if any of you guys actually own a business or are in real estate and you're serious about using AI on a more custom level, but you're not quite sure where to start, you can either hit my first link down in the description to get a personalized AI action plan completely for free, or you can hit my second link to actually book a private one-on-one call with me so that we can figure out a few ways that AI can actually work for you and your business. Be sure to hit a like and a subscribe down below if you enjoy content like this and you'd want to see more videos like this in the future. But in the meantime, thank you guys again for watching, and I will catch you all in the next one.